Foundational Black Americans, freedmen, black descendants of American slaves, native Black Americans, whatever you want to call us here in Black America, the people who are the direct descendants of American slaves, the black ones, we have our own ethnic group here. And so we're going to have a conversation, explain to people the reasons why that is, and to explain to people the reason why it's disingenuous and also divisive to claim that we don't have that we're just black. First of all, let's define the just black thing. That's called flat blackness. It's when you try to erase black people by just combining them all together, which erases, cultures, religions, customs, traditions that may differ from country to country. The way certain people do things in Haiti is not going to be exactly the same as you find in the African continent. It may be similar, but it's not the same. And to understand an ethnic group or cultural identity, yes, there are Asian people, there are Caucasian people, there are black people, there are Hispanic people, there are all kinds of people. But what makes those people different within their own group, within their own racial group, is context. Context is the difference between someone in Haiti and Jamaica, or someone in Jamaica or Nigeria. They're all black, but context. Now, you could try to boil it down to something else, but it's going to come back to context. The simple word context. Yes, I'm black, just like somebody in Ghana. But context tells you we have two very different lineages. Might have similar things, but things that are similar are not exactly the same, are they? Now, with that being said, I want you to understand the reasons why it's so silly to not see black people here as their own ethnic group. When you have developed religions such as Hoodoo, when you've developed languages such as Gullah Geechee and Tutnese, when you have, when you have a specific lineage that can be traced the way that it can be traced, when you have the track record of building, pretty much everything in the nation. At the very least, you say most things in the nation, from the banking systems, the railroads, the early construction, food production, livestock production, and also meat production. That was all us. When you look at our journey here in America, you have people out there who will come here to America from the African diaspora who will make statements like, well, I didn't know the history here. Well, then that lets you know right off the jump, we are both black, but we are not exactly the same. And that's okay, because context makes it okay. The same way if you got a Chinese person and a Japanese person in the same room, and I would say, hey, you guys are both Asian, but you are different, because context says, with your different histories, the way you guys split off, your cultural identities, your values, all different. They wouldn't disagree. Even here in America, the values and even some of the cultures and beliefs of some of the Native American tribes can differ from tribe to tribe. So why in the world is it that when people look at black Americans, the black descendants of American slaves, why is it that people can't see us as our own ethnic group? Don't you find that weird? I find it weird that in the third most populated country on planet Earth, with so many black people who are descendants of slaves, I find it so weird that they will come here and say, you guys should just identify as black. Yet the same people will not blame every white person for what's happening in Ukraine because Putin is white. It's almost as if they're making distinctions for other groups, but not for us. And that's another thing that you're going to notice. Anytime when a black descendant of American slaves, foundational Black Americans, freedmen, whatever you want to call us, whenever we want to have our own ethnic group, I want you to know something that happens. That's not allowed to some people. But anything that white people or other groups can be a part of too, they're fine with it. They don't have a problem with the LGBT community. I have no issue with it either. But the same people who criticize foundational Black Americans or ADOS, whatever you want to call us, are the same people who have no problem with the LGBT community, because white people can also be a part of it. This is why they never go and approach black Seminoles. Notice how people who tell us to not identify as foundational Black Americans or black descendants of American slaves never go to the black Seminole reservations to say anything to them. You want to know why? Because fake $5 Indian white people can also be Native Americans. Do you get how it works now? Anything that we don't that we don't have to share with, if we don't share it here in Black America, for the Black descendants of American slaves, if we don't share it, then people want to sabotage it. Seriously. That's how this works. See, if you go to a martial arts class, right? You go to a Muay Thai class, you give a certain type of bow for respect. I've been in Muay Thai classes. I still go to one. But you go to Taekwondo class, I know a lot about Taekwondo. The bow you give is very different. But it's different in multiple disciplines. And yet people, when they're doing those different types of bows that symbolize respect for different types of cultures, don't you find it weird how they can't extend that to foundational Black Americans or Black descendants of American slaves right here? The fact that you're giving different bows means that, yeah, a lot of these people are Asian, but the fact that you're giving different bows, different signs of respect, shows that they have context to them just being Asian. If you go over to the Pacific Islands and you go talk to a Samoan and you call them a Hawaiian, let me go ahead and tell you, I've made that mistake. Don't do it. Don't do it. I apologize profusely. That guy was big. Don't do it. Okay? All right? You can't even go over Native Americans and say, well, you're just Native American. They're like, no, I have a tribe. And it's very interesting how people from the African continent will criticize us and say that we're being tribalistic. The African continent? Are you going to criticize us for wanting to have a tribe? Or are you being serious right now? Really? Stop it. Okay, just stop it. It seems like every other group can identify as their own ethnic group except for us. Even white people, right? When you criticize people for certain things with white supremacy, right? What's the first thing you can hear? Well, I had Irish slaves in my family, which is not true. The Irish slave thing's a myth. But they'll say that, which means they're making a distinction from the type of white person that they are. So even white people get that concept. The very fact that you're mentioning so-called Irish slaves shows me that you're trying to make a distinction from the type of white person that you are. Which means that you should extend me the same, courtesy. But you don't do that. Because Black Americans, Black descendants of American slaves, we have a certain type of energy. A very specific type of energy. Right? So when you make us all, just black, flat blackness, you disperse the energy. A tribe standing together can support other people who look like them, but a tribe united is a problem for the U.S. government. Always has been. Look at how much money they spent destabilizing the Black Panther Party to the point where it's now infested with ops. Look how much money they spent to go after MLK, Malcolm X, the Civil Rights Movement, even Black Lives Matter. Think about it for a second. You don't spend that kind of money to target people who are ineffective. You target those people and you tell them to not even identify with their own ethnic group, to disperse them, to scatter them, the same way you did during slavery. And this is why I get upset when I get people from the African diaspora and other groups, other non-white groups, coming in and telling us what we can and can't identify with, because you are also, if you're doing that, you are what I would call a white supremacist collaborator. No different than an overseer who happened to be Black. We understand what some of these people happen to be. We understand who they are. We understand their purpose. So I hope this video has enlightened some people as to the reasons why you see people denying our ethnic and cultural heritage, and why it's very important that foundational Black Americans, Black descendants of American slaves, freedmen, ADOS, identify as what you are and drown out the haters.